The story begins with 4 American Marines fighting terrorists in Afghanistan. When they were in the middle of slaughtering, suddenly the enemy came from various directions. This apparently made the 4 of them cornered until they finally became prisoners of war. Then the 4 Marines were placed in different rooms. One of the Marines, named Cowboy, was seen being interrogated about how the Americans knew about their base. Here, Cowboy answers that he would rather die than have to divulge the secret. The terrorists knew Cowboy wouldn't open his mouth, so they deliberately injected an experimental liquid into Cowboy's hand. They went to the next room, which was filled by one of the American Marines named Bear. Here, they are still trying to ask how the Americans know about the base. But of course, Bear is just like Cowboy, who won't say anything to the terrorists. Because of this, they also injected Bear with the experimental liquid again. Then they went to the next room again to interrogate the 2 remaining Marines. But at the same time, it turned out that Cowboy was trying to untie his bonds using the nails there. After being untied, Cowboy went to Bear in the next room to untie him as well. After that, Cowboy and Bear approached their 2 Marine friends and managed to turn the situation around. They also managed to eliminate one of the enemies, as well as taking a spy hostage from the enemy. Then the 4 Marines divided the tasks. Bear and Cowboy were tasked with going out first to open the safe path, while his 2 Marine friends will wait for the signal from Bear and Cowboy, then followed by carrying one enemy spy, who is currently a hostage. Long story short, when they almost arrived at their destination, Cowboy told his 2 friends to get out immediately. But instead, Bear told them to wait a little longer, to make sure the situation was really safe. Not long after that, suddenly the enemy plane arrived. Then the plane destroyed the base, which resulted in the 2 Marine friends having to die. Suddenly, Cowboy immediately blamed Bear for the death of his 2 friends. Bear, who couldn't do anything else, just apologized and told Cowboy to continue the journey. The scene switches to 3 months after the incident, showing Bear, who is already in America, and he still feels guilty about the death of his 2 Marine friends. On the other hand, Cowboy himself is now hospitalized as a result of the experimental liquid that the terrorists had injected into him. It is known that the experimental liquid turned out to make Cowboy's liver function slowly become damaged. One night, Bear went to the house of his ex-girlfriend, whom he had left for 3 years. His girlfriend is named Skylar. It turns out that Bear's goal is to meet her, to invite Skylar back, and he promised not to leave Skylar again. But unfortunately, Skylar, who had been dumped, refused to be invited back by Bear. One day later, Bear, who didn't give up so easily, he returned to Skylar's house with a box of Skylar's favorite chocolates. Here, Bear invites Skylar to go to the square while chatting together. However, again, Skylar refused because in fact, she already had a new boyfriend. Even now, she was in the middle of carrying a child or pregnant. After learning that, Bear became even worse. Plus, the guilt of losing his Marine friend still always haunts Bear. Until finally, Bear tried to vent all his depression on drugs. Bear, who was high that night, was instead harassed by thugs who wanted to extort him. But of course, Bear could easily beat them all. Not long after, the police came to break them up, but Bear beat the police up too. At the same time, other police officers arrived. Then they beat Bear unconscious. Bear was taken to the hospital, and then he was about to be thrown into prison for attacking the police, as well as using illegal stuff. It turned out that Bear wasn't arrested with the help of one of the military agency women named Charlie. Bear is considered to have contributed a lot to the country, so for this time, Bear will be released. After that, the woman came to Bear, and she said the military could only help him for this time. And if Bear misbehaves again, then Bear will really be in prison. Moving on to Cowboy, who is now told by the doctor that his liver function has been completely damaged. For this reason, Cowboy was sentenced by the doctor to only could live for 3 months. Not only that, Cowboy also has to pay the cost of hospital bills that are increasingly bloated because his insurance money has passed the limit. It turns out that behind the door, there is Bear, who accidentally overheard their conversation. Bear knew that Cowboy was in need of money, so he immediately contacted one of his old friends. Here, Bear says that he needs a job to help with Cowboy's hospital bills. Then his old friend advised Bear to return to being an underground MMA fighter. It is known, before Bear joined the Marines, he used to be an MMA fighter. The next day at the hospital, Cowboy was visited by his wife, Mia Havifa. Mia apparently brought the good news that she was currently pregnant. Hearing this, Cowboy's feelings became mixed, considering that his life wouldn't be long. Here Cowboy hasn't dared to say anything to Mia about his life, just could stand only 3 months. On the other hand, Bear went to his old gym to train. He was greeted by a beautiful one-child widow named Summer, who was an admin at the gym. Here Bear told Summer that he wanted to meet the gym owner. When they met, it turned out that the owner of the gym was Bear's former trainer named Bronx. Bear asked Bronx to train him again, because now he will participate in the MMA championship again. Seeing that Bear is quite old and will not be as slim as before, Bronx also refused to train Bear. But if Bear wants to train on his own, he can come to this gym whenever Bear wants, Bronx said. It is also known that Bronx is the biological father of Skylar, Bear's ex-girlfriend. The next day at the hospital, Mia was seen visiting Cowboy again. She asked why Cowboy looked unhappy after hearing she was pregnant. Cowboy finally said that the doctor had predicted that his life would only last for 3 months. Hearing this, Mia was shocked as if she couldn't believe her husband's condition. On the other hand, Bear was seen training alone to prepare for his MMA fight. Shortly after that, he was approached by a young man named Chulo. Known that Chulo is a defending champion in underground MMA. Here Chulo continues to taunt Bear and belittle him, but Bear, who didn't want a scene, chose to leave the gym. Chulo continued to follow Bear and beat him up. Until Bear, who was already furious, he was no choice to beat Chulo until he fainted. Apparently, the incident was also seen by Bronx. The next day, when he returned to training, he was suddenly approached by Bronx. Bronx said that he was willing to train Bear, as long as Bear stayed away from illegal drugs and didn't drink alcohol. Bronx also didn't expect Bear still had such a powerful punch, even he was already old. One morning, Bronx introduced Bear to a man named Red. It turns out that Red is Skylar's new boyfriend, as well as the person who will train Bear's techniques in fighting. At first, Bear didn't want to train with Red because he was trying to forget Skylar. But Bronx said that Bear must be professional in work matters. In the end, Bear accepted Red as his trainer. Since then, Red has continued to monitor Bear's progress in training. But secretly Summer, the beautiful widow, and her son kept watching Bear. And it looks like Summer is interested in Bear. One day when Bear was practicing, he was suddenly approached by Summer. Summer said that she was willing to serve Bear if he needed anything. It turned out that Summer really liked Bear. But unfortunately, Bear was still cold. In the evening, Bear tried to go to Cowboy to see how he was doing. But here Cowboy still blames Bear for the death of his 2 Marine friends. Cowboy even said that the one who should have died during the war was Bear. Hearing this, Bear could only be silent and unable to say anything. Long story short, the MMA fight begins. Here Bear will be faced with a fighter who is quite tough. But apparently, with just one punch, Bear was able to subvert his opponent. Until Bear has the right to advance to the next round. After that, it shows other fighters who also compete with each other. One night, Bear was again approached by Summer. Here Summer invites Bear to take a vacation when Bear has finished this MMA championship. Summer also didn't hesitate to say that she wanted to marry Bear. But unfortunately, Bear still continued to be cold. In fact, he rejected all of Summer's wishes. Suddenly, this made Summer heartbroken and very disappointed with Bear because her love had been rejected. Not long after that, Bear was visited by the Match Mafia. They apparently wanted to bribe Bear with a lot of money, as long as Bear would lose the next match. But the honest Bear was very determined to win the championship. Bear flatly refused the bribe. Long story short, Bear competed again. And his opponent this time was an ex-con who was very brutal. But just as the match began, it turned out that Bear could defeat his opponent in the first round. In between the next match, Bronx was seen going out to smoke. But not long after, he was approached by the Match Mafia. They asked Bronx to let Bear, his foster son, lose in the semifinal match. Bronx, who heard this, of course refused because his and Bear's goal was to become champions. But after they chatted a bit, for some reason Bronx suddenly agreed to the Match Mafia's request. Then, when Bronx returned inside, he immediately gave a drink to Bear, who was being taught a new technique by Red. Then, while at ringside, Red saw something strange about Bear, because it turns out that Bronx had previously mixed Bear's drink with anesthetic. This time Bear will fight against Chulo, a cocky young man who used to bully Bear in the gym. As the fight progressed, it was clear Bear was going to lose. Bear was severely beaten by Chulo, who then locked Bear up. Eventually Bear gave up. On the next day, Bear came to the training ground. Here Bear was told by Summer's son that Summer, his mother, was sick and was now in the back. When seen, it turned out that Summer was bound limply, helpless. But Summer, who was still hurt by Bear's rejection, told Bear to stay away from her. Bear finally told her the reason why he rejected Summer's love. After knowing the reason, Summer finally understood. Then Bear immediately took Summer to the hospital. When he got there, Bear gave his marine necklace to Summer's son, Micah. Bear asked Micah to continue to look after his mother and always be strong like a marine. On the other hand, it turns out that Cowboy's condition is now increasingly worrying. In fact, he cannot even be conscious because his liver function has been completely damaged. The next day, when Bear was in the hospital hallway, he got a call from the M&A organizing committee. The caller informed him that Bear would return to fight and enter the finals in place of Chulo. That's because the organizers found cheating in the drinking water that was given to Bear yesterday. Long story short, before the match started, Bear asked Bronx why Bronx had betrayed him. Bronx replied that he already considered Bear as his own son. Meanwhile, the reason Bronx did this was because the Mafia threatened to kill Bear if Bronx didn't comply with their wishes. In the end, Bear understood, and he was willing to forgive Bronx's mistake. Then Bear will face a fighter named Darwin, who is very feared in this championship. Even Darwin has also become the defending champion for 5 times. In the first round, they both looked balanced and punches at each other. But in the next round, Darwin managed to corner Bear. At that time, the referee actually wanted to stop the match, but Bear refused, because he wanted to continue the fight until it was over. Then before entering the 3rd round, Darwin's trainer, who had been bribed by the Match Mafia, asked Darwin to finish Bear. Meanwhile, Bear, for the first time, prayed to God to win this match. Then he was also instructed by Red on the techniques to defeat Darwin. Then, in this round, Bear could do the techniques taught by Red, until finally Bear was able to win the match. On the other hand, Cowboy is now dying, and doctors think that Cowboy is unlikely to be saved. But before he's gone, the doctors will continue to try to treat Cowboy. At the end of the movie, a funeral is shown, but it turns out that the one who died was not Cowboy, but Bear. Apparently all this time, Bear has also suffered organ damage due to experimental fluids that were injected by terrorists. Bear has also actually been diagnosed by a doctor that his life will not be long. That is the reason why he rejected Summer's love. However, Bear, who knew that his liver function was still good, didn't hesitate to donate it to Cowboy. Seen at the funeral were Mia and Cowboy, who were now back to health. Cowboy didn't think that all this time, Bear had only pretended to be healthy. Plus, Bear has also paid all of Cowboy's hospital fees. Bear is now honorably buried and awarded as a true Marine. Then the movie ended.